There are new concerns over Canada's trade dispute with the U.S. The Trump administration has started an investigation into whether uranium imports threaten national security. American uranium miners supply less than 5% of domestic consumption, and producers have asked the Commerce Department to investigate. Canada and Kazakhstan are the main sources of U.S. uranium imports. There are worries the U.S. might move to impose tariffs on uranium. It previously cited national security as its reason for massive duties on steel and aluminum. For more on this, I'm joined by Frostad, President and CEO of Purepoint Uranium Group, Incorporated. I just want to reiterate to our viewers, it's just in the investigation stage. Nothing has happened yet. But Chris, what goes through your mind when you even hear the U.S. musing about this?
Well, a few things. I think you have to realize that the uranium industry in general has been impacted in a number of ways over the last year anyways. So we're kind of used to things coming at us. But in terms of the U.S., it's worrisome. I mean, it's worrisome. We don't know what those tariffs are going to be, or if they're going to be, and who they're going to be taken out on. But as a major supplier to the U.S., it's concerning.
Yeah, how much of your supply is actually going south of the border?
Well, Cameco supplies about 30% of what they do, but Canada supplies about 20% of what the U.S. uses right now.
If there was any kind of tariff that emerged, I mean, what could it do to uranium producers across the country?
Well, they're looking to double up on what they're doing domestically. Right. So they have to. That means that they would have to take 10 to 15% of the sales away from somebody else around the world. And as you mentioned, Russia, Kazakhstan, Canada provide about 60%, 20 each. So we'd probably get the lion's share of it, depending on who they really want to hand it off to.
So if we lost that and we had to go to another market, who would we be looking at?
Well, you'd be looking at China right now, which is growing significantly in terms of nuclear reactors. I mean, the United States has about 25% of the world's reactors, but there was a lot of focus on all the reactors that were shut down in Japan. But as a matter of fact, as of last year, there's been enough new reactors built around the world to make up for what they shut down. So there is still a lot of demand on the reactor side right now.
How much time does it take, I mean, to broker deals like that with a brand new country, with people that we don't share, necessarily the same values or geographical space or anything like that?
It's been ongoing for some time. It isn't like we're going to start talking to these people for the first time.
Right.
I mean, I know from our relationships with Cameco and with the government of Saskatchewan, we've been going over to China for the last 10, 15 years. Japan, Korea, which are a lot of the big buyers of uranium for a lot of the reactors that they build and sell. So I think the relationships are in place, and China is huge in terms of a lot of the regulations recently have been made it easier, I think, for Canada to start selling into some of those countries.
And you think they'd be open to us if the U.S. was closing the door?
Absolutely, absolutely. They have to get it from somewhere.
Right.
Once you've got a reactor going, you can't shut it off. You need to know where the fuel's coming from.
I think, Chris, of Western Canada and the fact that there's been really low commodity prices, the West has struggled with their resources. So, is this just another thing to worry about right now?
Well, it is another thing to worry about, but I think you have to hand it to Cameco for the manner in which they've controlled and managed their operations in Saskatchewan. I mean, that is where all this uranium is coming from, and they're working very hard on getting prices up to where they need to be again. They did a controlled shutdown of the biggest mine in the world in Saskatchewan earlier in this year. Most of their sales either coming from they're buying it on the open market or they're taking it out of their inventory. So that hit isn't going to impact workers necessarily right off the bat. It's not necessarily going to impact a lot of the things that we would feel directly.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a buffer there.
Absolutely.
For sure. Okay, Frostad, President and CEO of Purepoint Uranium Group. Thank you.
Thank you.